All right, the last part on the builder tool are the build settings specific to it. The first thing we'll look at is going to be the builder settings. So there is a tool and a block ID. What this is saying is that this particular tool, when it lays a block in the scene, it's telling that block it has an ID value. The value it's setting, for instance, is 0. What it means though is that if you want to remove an object inside the scene, so removing one is going to determine whether or not you have the right item to remove the right block that's made. What that means is that if I chose, say, 2, well, this one's going to create blocks with 2, but if you have another builder block that's set to 0, each tool can only remove and make what the ID value equals. If all of your tools were equal to 0, then all of your tools could build and remove any of the blocks in the scene. So just something to keep in mind is that when you start doing this, you'll probably want to set the different values for the block so that if you have something that's a remover tool, it can only remove certain ones. All right, order of blocks. You have first loop and random. You have a brush that you use to identify what the builder block will create. And then you can say it's the first one in the list, or you could say it's looping, meaning that it's going to go through the list and then start back over and go back through the list. You have random, so if you choose more than one block to create and you just want to have like 10 randomly created items, then you can just do random for it. We're going to choose loop just so that the user, if they decide to put more than one brush in the scene for tagging an object, that it'll just automatically pick it up and use it the way they think it's going to be used. For the build create, all right, we have a basic setup is that yes, you can or can't create with this tool. You may want it where it only does removing, and that's the only option for it. You have an unlimited use, or you could say that you want it to only be able to build 5 blocks and then it's done. There's a create time. The create time itself is going to be how long does it take to make. You may push the button and then you say wait for 5 seconds before it gets done. In the create time as well, I'm going to say it's going to be 1/10 of a second. And then we're going to say the scale size to start with. You could say is 0 if you want it to come from nothing and go out. You might want it to be big and go back to small. The end size is whatever size the block is. So if you tag an object that's 20 by 20, that's going to be also going to be the end size for the block. So we'll say starts at 0. For the tweening, if you want it to bounce in, if you want it to come in smoothly, you can choose an option for it here. As if, for instance, here, if I wanted it to bounce in, we could say, let's do the ease in back, and this will give a nice little kind of an animated feel to it coming into the scene. All right, same thing for the build remove. You have a enable for it, an unlimited use for it, and then you have a number of times. The option for the remove click count, this means that how many times does it take the user to push the button with their tool and basically remove it from the scene. If you say 0, then it's a one-click hit, it's done with. If you take it up, say for instance you do 20, basically what you're saying is that every time you click on it, it's going to be applying a hit value to it until the 20 divided by whatever the health is becomes 0. Alright, so we'll say it's just going to be we'll do a default and just say a one click. Alright, and then it's going to play the out of it is actually in the death state. So if you have a die state, if you have damage states, those are going to be assigned through that portion of it. Alright, and that's going to be part of the other block. So for instance, even on the die state for scaling, if you want it to scale and go away, you would use the die scale. Let me just go down to that one here. So you would say, for instance, when you're working on the other blocks, you could use the damage state, you could use the die, you could say the die scale, you could say that you're wanting it to scale at what rate, how quick, and all that. Alright. So there's going to be the create, remove. We have a display block. The block, whether or not you want to see it, the display block is an item that shows in front of the character. Currently we're saying it's offset 10, so it's going to be a little square image that goes around the builder tool, and it's just showing you where you're about to build and whether you can build in that area. Right. There's the option for scaling. So if you have a block that is 20 by 20, then you may want to make the display block 20 by 20 and offset it by 20 instead of 10. That way the block gets placed in the right spot. And then you have a depth, forward or backward for it. All right. And then just kind of explaining the rest of the tools here for this part. Snap to grid. Again, if you're going to snap it to something that's 20 by 20, be sure to change it here as well. If you don't want to snap it, you just want to be able to randomly place it, you can uncheck that. So the builder animations, we have 3 extra on here. We have one for the display idle. So we have a builder display idle box. So this is the kind of the preview of where the item's going to go, the create and the remove. On all of those are going to be an animation that gets called once each time. The idle will be what follows the player around. So if you want to have something specific to the tile that's going to be made, you might want to use something that's more appropriate for it in that sense. Same thing for the audio. The audio is going to be set up so that you can place in the audio for each one. And then we have the builder effects. The builder effect is going to be when you create it, do you want to have a animation that gets played for the effect on create? So we'll say yes, we're going to play it once, it's going to parent to the object, and then it's just going to play and fade out. We could play, for instance, because it's a single animation, we could actually say that we want to, we'll say enable the time, and show duration, we'll say it's going to show for, let's do, we'll do 2, and then fade duration we'll do about 2. So almost we'll give a fourth of a second there for it. Position will be in front. I'm going to put it one more in front just in case something's being built that's in front of other stuff. And then 10 by 10, because everything else is currently 10, we're just keeping in line with it. We don't really care about the rigid body, so we won't use it. So same setup, we just want to do the same thing for the remove. And again, if you do the audio, you can place the audio on that one. I'm going to do the builder, and this again, this can be the effect on remove right here. All right, time. And if you wanted it to be more or less for the in versus, like for the creating versus removing, then you may have a specific animation in mind that you want to make it longer or shorter. All right, so there we go. That will cover all of our builder specific tools so that we can have this one set up when you drop it in just to be able to start using it.